Hello dear students, today I'll discuss about the quantitative analysis, the application for IR spectroscopy. We have discussed how qualitative analysis is done by using IR spectroscopy. In quantitative analysis we are going to go for how IR is being used for measuring the concentration of the different substances. So here quantitative analysis, it is based on the determination of one of the functional group. People are going to do this particular analysis. For example, in case of hexanol, it means between hexane and hexanol mixture, so we can able to find the concentration of hexanol. So there we are going to use this particular formula. A is equal to minus log I by I naught is equal to ABC, Lambert's Bayes law. So by using this Lambert's Bayes law, we are going to find out the amount, the concentration of the particular group, which in turn is going to tell about what is the amount of that particular substance present in the mixture. There are two methods which we can determine the absorbance and concentration. One is cell in cell out method, that is by doing standard calibration curve is going to be constructed. On the other hand, there is baseline method. In baseline method, people go for selection of suitable absorption band, because we know the absorption band of our hexanol, where OH absorption can be taken as a key band, and then people are going to measure the P0 P ratio for that particular band, that is the width and the length, and then that, and along with the absorption and taking the log of P O0 over P, a plot against the concentration, and that will help in determining the unknown. So that is the baseline method. You can see P and P0 value is going to be taken. They take the this and means concentration versus this, that will give. And advantage wise, so common possible errors can be eliminated by this particular method, and the same cell is used in all the determinations, so therefore there will be no chances of errors, and all measurements are done on points defined by the spectrum, hence no dependence on the lambda intensity is going to be there, and it eliminates the chances of instrument sensitivity as well as source sensitivity. And people are going to do this by using KBR pellets, or they are going to do it by using internal standards. KBR pellets are the disc method, in which the uniform pellets of similar weight and thickness are going to be taken, and known weights of KBR plus known weights of quantity of the test material will be taken, and calibration curve is going to be plotted. Using internal standards means here they are going to use potassium thiocyanate as a very important standard. So it is going to be drained, ground with the KBR to make the concentration of 0.2% by weight of the thiocyanate, and calibration curve is plotted. See, I forgot to mention in this particular explanation, I think, that is always whenever we want to go for measuring the IR spectroscopy, the sample is going to be measured, or the sample holder is generally going to be the KBR pellets. Okay, so that's the a common type of measure, means common sample holder consisting of this, because the KBR is going to give help in the absorption of the air. So there is Fourier transformed infrared spectroscopic method. So this Milchan interferometer in a Fourier transform IR spectroscopy, which has now superseded the initial IR spectroscopy. Now everywhere people are using this particular FTIR. So this has a basic design in which you can see there will be a source of radiation, followed by the incident beam is allowed to pass through the sample. There is going to be a stationary mirror, On the other hand, there is going to be transmitted light, means the what I can say, the mirror is going to be completely it's a beam splitter will be there, which is going to be split the light and reflected with the stationary mirror again onto the sample, and then if anything is moving, means get transmitted from the beam splitter, again will be allowed to beam back onto the splitter, and then again it is going to be moving through the sample, then it's going to be moving through the detector. So the incident IR beam may be split by passage through the half mirror or beam splitter and up to a material, which is again later, means example the crystalline KBR or the mylar film also being used here in case of IR, and which will transmit the half of the light and reflect the other half. This beam splitter is going to be always positioned about 45 degree to the incident beam in parallel to the stationary mirror. So the beam transmitted by the beam splitter shines on the moving stationary, and then again it's going to come back to the sample. So two beams are going to get reflected by the fixed and moving mirrors, and then it comes back. The resultant beam is going to be sum of both the beams, and this process is called as constructive interference. And if these particular beams which are being reflected by the moving mirror and the stationary, so if they are going to be if they are out of phase, they are going to cause destructive interference. So you can see the constructive interference is also going to be a chance, and destructive interference is also going to be a chance. If constructive happens, then the resultant beam is going to have much more intensity, as well as the waves are going to be having the higher amplitudes, whereas in destructive interference the waves are going to get cancel each other. So in practice, a number of scans are going to be performed in the absence of sample, and they repeat with also sample. So these scans are going to be very rapid, and they cover wide spectrum of the IR region, and this is going to give an interference pattern obtained or added together and analyzed through this particular mathematical tool called Fourier transform, because here thousands of spectra are going to be obtained simultaneously, and all these spectra are going to be superimposed on each other, and finally a spectra is going to be obtained, and this process of analyzing all these spectra and coming out with one single spectra is happening with the Fourier transform. So FTIR spectroscopy is essentially an interference based technique rather than one based on the absorption. So each molecule gives characteristic FTIR spectrum which reflects its chemical structure, and like protein, DNA are amenable to the FTIR analysis, since the effect of solvent is going to largely excluded here. So the technique is applicable to most classes of biomolecules. Structural changes due to alterations in case of pH, ionic strength, pressure, temperature, everything is going to be able to be detected and analyzed by FTIR. There are many other applications of FTIR. People are using it for the determination of unknown contaminant in the industry. They are determining cell wall of mutant and wild type plant varieties, biomedical studies of human hair to identify the disease states, even in understanding the means identify the odor, as well as test components in case of food and determine the atmosphere pollutants, are all being done with the FTIR. And another type of IR spectroscopy is Raman IR spectroscopy. In Raman IR spectroscopy, Raman is the principle of Raman spectra is all about the scattering of light. So here what people are going to do is the frequency of scattered light may be greater or lesser than that of the incident light. This phenomenon is the Raman scattering or Raman spectroscopy. In relevance with the Raman spectroscopy to IR spectroscopy lies in the fact that the energy difference between the incident and the Raman scattered light corresponds to the vibrational transition. So based on that, people actually go for this Raman IR spectroscopy, or also people call it as Raman spectroscopy. So Raman spectroscopy is therefore a means of studying vibrational transition, even though the light used usually falls into the visible part of the spectrum. So the phenomenon is mainly based on the scattering of light rather than absorption of light. So it is possible to measure the Raman spectra in aqueous solutions without a problem encountered due to the means whether the water is going to absorb the incident radiation or not, because here we are not talking about the absorption, we are talking about only scattering. So here the incident radiation is going to be from the source will be allowed to fall onto the sample, and we are not measuring even the transmitted light here, we are measuring only the light which is getting scattered by the sample in different directions. So particularly they are going to keep it at 90 degree, means there are different Raman spectras having different detectors being placed at different angle from the sample. Okay. So in Raman scattering, a small amount of energy is transformed from the incident light to promote the sample molecule to push it in from the ground state to the next vibrational level. So this loss of energy causes a small decrease in the frequency of scattered light, okay, to a value of nu from nu v. So the change in the frequency is the one which we are going to be measuring in Raman spectra, so which is going to give us information regarding the molecule. So what people are going to do generally is they are going to expose the molecule or the sample for different frequency of radiation, and this particular different frequency of radiation, further they are going to measure the scattered light into various frequencies are going to be measured, and they plot a graph of the frequency frequently they are going to plot and the light intensity versus the frequency. So most of the scattered light has same frequency as that of the incident radiation, so generally we get delta nu as 0, which is called as Rayleigh line of the spectrum. So other lines of the spectrum have measurable frequency values, so it depends upon the structure of the sample molecule, so we call it as Stokes line. So there is another way in which the sample molecules and the incident light can interact, where some molecules existing in the first excited vibrational energy level impart energy into the incident light, thus decreasing the frequency of the scattered light, because energy is important, so energy increases, frequency decreases, and this gives rise to the line of the spectrum which is going to be anti-Stokes line, because Stokes line is the one which is giving us based on the frequency increase, but here frequency is being decreased, so anti-Stokes lines are going to get produced. You can see here from the value of nu is equal to 0, that's called Rayleigh line, we are going to get Stokes line at towards the y-axis and anti-Stokes lines towards the opposite side of the Rayleigh line. Okay, so sorry, this particular once again, so this particular Stokes lines and the Rayleigh lines are going to be very Stokes lines and the anti-Stokes lines, they give much more information regarding the structure of the molecule as well as the type of the molecule. A sample molecule will give a Raman spectrum characteristic of its chemical structure. Since this spectrum is mainly due to vibrational transition which is happening in the molecule, the information contained in such a spectrum is having no different to that of contained in the dispersive infrared spectra. Okay, so this is what the Raman spectra, and people are using application wise. Raman spectra is highly used in study of biomolecules, particularly in order to understand the structure as well as in studying the interaction of one molecule with the other molecule, like in case of protein interaction, protein lipid interaction, lipid lipid interactions. So in all these cases people are using the Raman spectra for the studies. So thank you.